Close your eyes for just 1 second and imagine this scenario. Imagine a man who did everything exactly right. He listened to his parents. He listened to his teachers. He went to school, kept his head down, and got a stable job. For 40 years, he woke up at 6 in the morning, fought through an hour of agonizing traffic, and sat at a desk building someone else's dream. He missed his children's school plays because he had to work late. He skipped family vacations because he was terrified of losing his position. He ate packed lunches, clipped coupons, and religiously saved 10% of his paycheck in a safe, traditional bank account. He traded the best years of his physical life, his energy, and his youth, all for the promise of a peaceful retirement. And then, the day finally comes. He is 65 years old. He gets a cheap gold watch from his employer, a pat on the back, and he goes home to open his savings account. He looks at the number he has spent half a century building. And in that exact moment, a cold, suffocating wave of panic washes over him. Because he realizes, with absolute horror, that the cost of housing has tripled. The cost of healthcare has skyrocketed. The price of basic groceries has doubled. The money he bled for, the money he sacrificed his life for, is barely enough to keep the lights on for the next 10 years. He did everything right, and he still lost. This is not a fictional story. This is the tragic, terrifying reality for millions of people waking up today. And the reason it happens is not because these people are lazy. It is not because they are not intelligent. It is because they have been poisoned by the greatest financial lie ever told. They have been infected with the middle-class mindset. Today, we are going to have a very raw, very uncomfortable conversation. We are going to rip the mask off the financial system. We are going to look at the brutal, unapologetic mathematics of how money actually works in the real world. We are going to look at history. We are going to look at real-life examples across the globe. And we are going to expose exactly why the advice you were given as a child is acting as a massive, invisible wall standing between you and the life you actually deserve. By the time this video ends, you are going to feel a mix of intense anger at the system that lied to you and an overwhelming sense of power, because for the first time, you are going to see the matrix for what it truly is. Let us start with the foundation of the lie. The middle-class mindset is built on one catastrophic, heartbreaking equation. It is the belief that your income must be tied to your time. If you have a middle-class mindset, you fundamentally believe that to make more money, you simply have to work harder. You have to put in more hours. You have to grind yourself into the ground. If you are a doctor, you trade your physical presence in a hospital for a high hourly rate. If you are a store clerk, you trade your physical presence for a minimum wage. But I want you to really think about the fatal flaw in this logic. Look at your life. There are only 24 hours in a day. You have to sleep. You have to eat. Even if you are the most driven, relentless, hardworking human being on the face of the planet, you have an absolute, unbreakable mathematical ceiling on your income. You cannot work 30 hours a day. And what happens when you get sick? What happens when you are exhausted and just want to spend a week with your family? The moment you stop physically moving, your income drops to zero. You do not own a money-making machine. You are the machine. And the system will run you until your gears grind down to dust. Now, I want you to look back at history. Look at the people who built generational empires. Look at John D. Rockefeller or Cornelius Vanderbilt in the early 20th century. Did Vanderbilt become the wealthiest man in America by personally shoveling coal into the engines of his trains? Did Rockefeller become a billionaire by personally digging for oil in the dirt with his bare hands? Absolutely not. They understood the deepest secret of the ultra-wealthy. They never, ever traded their precious, finite time for dollars. They traded systems for dollars. They built infrastructure, they owned the assets, and they employed the leverage of other people's time and other people's money. The modern wealthy do the exact same thing today. They build software that runs while they sleep. They buy apartment buildings that collect rent while they are on vacation. They own intellectual property that pays royalties 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Wealth is not determined by how hard you sweat. Wealth is determined by how many assets you own that continue to relentlessly print money while you are not even in the room. But society does not teach you to buy assets. Society teaches you to save cash. And this brings us to the second, most destructive pillar of the middle-class mindset, the illusion of safety. The middle-class manual tells you that the ultimate sign of financial responsibility is a massive savings account. They tell you that cash is king. But I need you to understand that in the modern global economy, Saving cash is financial suicide. Let us do some live, unfiltered math right now so you can see exactly how you are being robbed completely blind. Imagine you work incredibly hard, you sacrifice your luxuries, and you manage to save $100,000. You do the responsible thing. You put it in a traditional bank savings account. Maybe the bank smiles at you and gives you a generous 3% interest rate. At the end of year one, you have $103,000. You look at your banking app, you see that number go up, and you feel a sense of pride. You feel safe. But you are completely ignoring the silent thief standing right behind you. Inflation. Let us look at the real world. If true inflation, the actual rising cost of buying a home, paying for medical care, buying food, and paying for energy, is running at a real rate of 7%, what just happened to your life savings? Your purchasing power just collapsed. Yes, you have 3,000 more paper dollars, but those dollars buy significantly less than they did 365 days ago. You literally lost 4% of your wealth simply by leaving it parked in the bank. If you want a real, terrifying global example of what happens when you trust paper currency, look outside the borders of the United States or Western Europe. Look at the people of Argentina over the last few decades, or Lebanon, or Turkey in recent years. In those countries, hard-working, middle-class people who did everything right, people who saved millions of their local currency in the bank, woke up one morning to find that hyperinflation had completely wiped out their entire life savings. The money they worked 30 years to save could suddenly barely buy a loaf of bread. Now, while those are extreme examples, the exact same mathematical erosion is happening to the US dollar, the British pound, and the euro, just at a slightly slower pace. The wealthy understand a fundamental truth that the middle class refuses to accept. Fiat currency, paper money, is not real wealth. Currency is simply a medium of exchange that is mathematically designed by central banks to lose its value over time so that you are forced to spend it. The wealthy do not hoard cash. They hate cash. They view cash as a melting ice cube in the palm of their hand. The moment they get cash, they immediately convert it into something solid, something tangible, something that cannot be printed by a politician. They buy real estate. They buy shares in profitable businesses. They buy precious metals. They buy high-end equipment that generates revenue. They buy assets that inflate alongside the economy, protecting their purchasing power forever. And the vehicle they use to acquire these assets brings us to the most misunderstood, most feared concept in the entire middle-class vocabulary: debt. If you want to see someone with a middle-class mindset have a panic attack, just say the word debt. The middle class is terrified of it. They are taught that owing money is a sin. Pay off your mortgage as fast as humanly possible. Cut up your credit cards. Never owe anyone a single dime. And listen to me carefully. Consumer debt, using a credit card with a 25% interest rate to buy a designer watch or a luxury car to impress people you do not even like, is absolute financial poison. That will destroy your life. But the wealthy know a secret that the banks desperately try to hide from you. There is a massive, life-changing difference between bad debt and good debt. Good debt is not a burden. Good debt is a weapon. Let us go back to a historical, real-world example that most of us lived through. Look at the devastating financial crisis of 2008. When the housing market collapsed, the middle class panicked. They were terrified. They lost their jobs, they defaulted on their mortgages, and they sold their homes at massive losses just to survive. They ran away from debt and hoarded whatever cash they had left. But what did the wealthy do? What did the institutional investors and the people with a true wealth mindset do? They looked at the blood in the streets, and they saw the greatest clearance sale in the history of the world. They went to the banks, borrowed millions of dollars at rock-bottom interest rates, and bought up entire neighborhoods of foreclosed homes for pennies on the dollar. They used the bank's money to acquire assets at the exact moment the middle class was selling them in fear. And over the next decade, as the market recovered and rents skyrocketed, those investors built unprecedented, staggering levels of wealth. They did it by understanding leverage. Let me break down the exact mathematics of leverage for you right now, because this is the formula that separates the rich from everyone else. Let us say you find a piece of commercial real estate or a rental property that costs $500,000. A person with a middle-class mindset looks at that and says, I need to save $500,000 in cash before I can buy it. That might take them 40 years of extreme frugality. A person with a wealth mindset looks at that exact same property and says, I only need a 20% down payment. I am going to put down $100,000 of my own money, and I am going to borrow the remaining $400,000 from the bank at a fixed interest rate. Now, let us say over the next few years, inflation hits, and the value of that property goes up by just 10%. The property is now worth $550,000. The middle-class person looks at that and says, "Wow, you made a 10% return on your investment." But that is completely mathematically incorrect. You did not invest $500,000. You only put in $100,000 of your own cash. You just made $50,000 in profit on a $100,000 investment. That is a 50% return on your actual cash. And here is the most beautiful, almost unfair part of the entire equation. Who is paying the monthly interest on that $400,000 loan from the bank? You are not paying it. Your tenant is paying it every single month when they hand over their rent check. You use the bank's money to buy the asset. You are using the tenant's money to pay off the bank, and you get to keep 100% of the appreciation and the monthly cash flow. That is the magic of leverage. It is a mathematical system designed to accelerate wealth, and the middle class is completely blind to it because they are paralyzed by the fear of owing money. This fear stems from a deep, psychological prison called the scarcity mindset. When you operate from a place of scarcity, your entire worldview is focused on defense. You look at the world as a shrinking pie. You focus entirely on protecting what little you have. You spend hours cutting coupons, you skip your morning coffee, you agonize over saving 50 cents on a gallon of gas, and you convince yourself that you are being financially responsible. I want you to imagine a local business owner. Let us say he is a hard-working man who owns a highly successful retail shop, maybe specializing in premium and stitched fabrics and high-end branded suits. He built the business from the ground up. He is there 12 hours a day, sweeping the floors, talking to customers, managing the inventory. But his mind is infected with scarcity. He spends 20 hours every single week on the phone, aggressively arguing with his shipping suppliers, fighting desperately to get a tiny 2% discount on his freight costs. He thinks he is being a ruthless, smart businessman. He thinks he is saving the company. But let us look at the brutal reality. In those 20 hours he spent fighting over a few $100s, what could he have built? He could have hired a videographer, bought a high-end cinematic camera with a beautiful 85mm lens, and filmed a stunning, viral marketing campaign for his suits. He could have built a completely automated global e-commerce store that allows him to sell his fabrics to customers in London, Dubai, and New York while he is asleep in his bed. He could have exponentially multiplied his income. But because he is trapped in scarcity, he is literally tripping over $100 bills just to pick up a few shiny pennies. The wealth mindset does not obsess over how to save money. It obsesses over how to relentlessly increase earning power. The wealthy shift their energy from defense to offense. They realize that you can never, ever shrink your way to massive wealth. You can only grow your way there. And if you want to talk about the ultimate betrayal of the middle class, we have to talk about the tax system. This is the part that should make your blood boil. The middle class looks at taxes as an unavoidable punishment. They look at their paycheck every 2 weeks. They see that the government has violently ripped away 30 or 40% of their hard-earned money before it even hit their bank account, and they just sigh and accept it as a reality of life. But the wealthy look at the tax code completely differently. They do not see a list of punishments. They see a roadmap of incentives. The governments of the world, whether you live in the United States, Europe, or Asia, all write their tax codes to encourage very specific behaviors that the government cannot do itself. The government wants people to provide housing for the population, so they write massive, completely legal tax loopholes for real estate investors, allowing them to deduct the depreciation of their buildings against their income, often resulting in them paying 0% in taxes. The government wants people to create jobs and stimulate the economy, so they offer massive deductions for business owners. Let us break down the painful, unforgiving math of being an employee versus being a business owner. When you are an ordinary employee, the formula is simple and it is designed to keep you broke. You earn your money, the government taxes that money immediately off the top, and then you try to survive and pay your bills on whatever scraps are left over. You earn, you are taxed, you spend. But when you own a corporate entity, when you step out of the middle class matrix, the entire mathematical universe flips completely upside down. The formula becomes, you earn money, you spend money on your business expenses, and then you are only taxed on whatever profit is left over. You earn, you spend, you are taxed. This one single shift in the timeline of taxation is responsible for the creation of trillions of dollars of generational wealth. The middle class person buys a new computer with after-tax dollars, meaning they had to earn $2,000 just to afford a $1,000 laptop. The business owner buys the exact same laptop with pre-tax dollars and writes it off as a business expense, effectively making the government subsidize their purchase. If you do not take the time to understand the rules of the game of money, you will always be the pawn on the board, constantly being sacrificed so that the players can win. Now, I know exactly what you are thinking right now. You are listening to this and your mind is making excuses. You are saying, this all sounds great for people who already have money. But I do not have a rich family. I do not have a massive inheritance. I do not have $1 million to start buying real estate or starting a global business. I am just a regular person trying to survive. Let me look you dead in the eye and tell you that in the year 2026, that excuse is completely dead. We are currently living in the middle of the most profound, disruptive technological revolution in human history. The artificial intelligence supercycle has completely leveled the playing field. It has democratized the ability to build massive wealth. Think back to just a few decades ago. If you wanted to start a business that could reach millions of people, what did you need? You needed a massive physical factory. You needed a fleet of delivery trucks. You needed millions of dollars in venture capital funding. You needed to hire hundreds of employees. The barrier to entry was a giant, impenetrable steel wall that kept the middle class out. Today, that wall has been vaporized. With the rise of agentic artificial intelligence, global connectivity, and digital media platforms, you literally have $1 billion factory sitting in your backpack. A single person, sitting in a cheap coffee shop with a laptop and a basic internet connection, can use AI to write complex software code. They can use AI to generate stunning, professional marketing campaigns. They can create high-value digital products, courses, and media assets, and they can deploy them to a global audience of billions of people with the click of a single button. The barrier to entry is literally zero. The cost of failure is zero. The only thing, the absolute only thing standing between you and financial freedom right now, is your own paralyzing comfort zone. The middle-class mindset conditions you to act like a victim. It conditions you to wait for permission. You are waiting for your boss to notice your hard work and give you a 5% raise. You are waiting for the politicians to pass a law that magically lowers your taxes. You are waiting for the Federal Reserve to fix the economy. You are waiting for a savior that is never, ever going to come. The wealth mindset does not wait for permission. The wealth mindset takes aggressive, unapologetic action. They understand that the current financial system is a machine designed to extract wealth from the uninformed and transfer it directly into the pockets of the informed. Every single time you leave your excess cash sitting in a checking account, you are voluntarily transferring your purchasing power to the banking system. Every single evening that you spend sitting on a couch, consuming mindless entertainment for 4 hours instead of educating yourself, you are voluntarily transferring your incredibly valuable time to massive media corporations. In the modern economy, if you are not building an asset, you are the asset. You are the product being sold. It is time to completely tear down your internal script. You have to undergo a painful, psychological rewiring. You have to stop looking at the world through the fearful, shrinking lens of scarcity, and you have to start looking at it through the expansive lens of leverage, systems, and infinite scale. You have to permanently eliminate the phrase, "How much does this cost?" from your vocabulary, and replace it with the phrase, "What is the return on investment?" If you go out and spend $2,000 on a massive new television, that is a dead expense. It pulls money from your pocket and it will be worth absolutely zero in 5 years. If you spend $2,000 on a powerful camera, or advanced software, or an intensive course to learn a high-income skill that allows you to start a media business, that is not an expense. That is an investment in your own production capacity. That has the potential to yield a 10,000% return over the next 5 years. I need you to audit your entire life today. Look brutally and honestly at where your money is flowing. Look at where your time is being drained. Are you spending your precious days building someone else's dream? Or are you laying the bricks for your own empire? If your entire ability to feed your family is completely dependent on your physical presence at one specific job, you are in a highly vulnerable, dangerous position. You need to start building a parallel system immediately. Start a side project tonight. Learn how to analyze data to invest in the stock market with logic instead of emotion. Study how real estate syndications actually work. Learn how to build a simple digital asset, a guide, a video, a piece of software that can generate just $50 a day while you sleep. $50 a day might not sound like a lot of money to you right now, but the moment you wake up, check your phone, and realize you made $50 while you were unconscious in bed, your entire paradigm will shatter. It proves the concept. And once you have the system to make $50 while you sleep, it is just a matter of scaling that exact same system to make 500 and then 5,000. I am not going to lie to you. Breaking out of the middle-class mindset is an incredibly painful, lonely process. It requires you to actively unlearn almost everything your parents, your teachers, and society taught you. It requires you to look absolutely foolish to your friends and your family who are still blindly following the old rules. They will look at you starting a business, they will look at you buying assets, and they will tell you that you are taking too much risk. They will tell you to just be happy with what you have. They will tell you to calm down and get back in line. But you must burn this one absolute truth into your mind. If you want to live a life of freedom that 99% of people cannot live, you have to be willing to do the uncomfortable, terrifying things that 99% of people are absolutely unwilling to do. You are standing at a major crossroads in your life right now at this very moment. You have heard the math. You have seen the global examples of inflation destroying savings. You know the difference between the brutal employee tax trap and the massive leverage of the business owner. You understand that saving your way to wealth is a mathematical impossibility in a world where central banks print money out of thin air. You can close this video right now. You can go back to your normal, comfortable routine. You can wake up tomorrow morning, sit in traffic, and continue trading your precious, irreplaceable, finite time for a paper currency that is constantly melting away. You can stay safe, you can stay comfortable, and you can slowly, quietly get left behind by the new economy. Or, you can make a radical, unapologetic decision today that changes the entire trajectory of your family's bloodline forever. You can decide that from this day forward, you are no longer just a consumer of the world, you are a creator. You are no longer a cog in the machine of the system. You are an architect of your own systems. You can decide to learn the language of money, master the powerful tools of leverage, and begin building true, unshakable, generational wealth. The choice is entirely yours to make. But you must understand this one final thing. Time is the one single asset on this earth that you can never, ever buy back. Every single day that you wait, every single day that you hesitate out of fear, is a day of compounding interest and growth that you have lost forever. If this message woke you up, if the brutal mathematics of this reality made you realize that you need to fundamentally change your entire strategy for life, then do not just let this be another motivational video that you consume and forget about 10 minutes from now. Take action right now. Prove to yourself that you are serious. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications. Because in the next few videos, we are going completely tactical. We are leaving the theory behind and we are going to break down the exact, step-by-step frameworks on how to build automated digital businesses from zero, how to legally structure your corporate entities to keep your wealth away from the taxman, and how to start using bank leverage safely to buy appreciating assets. Share this video with one person, just one person, who needs to wake up and break out of the matrix with you. And leave a comment down below with the exact, specific first step you are going to take today to stop trading your time for money. The blueprint is sitting right in front of you. The wall has been torn down. It is time to get to work.